I just finished filming this video and I'm exporting it, and then I felt like I heard something through the grapevine about Bretman Rock identifying as non-binary, and that slipped my mind. So then I tried to look for things so that I could figure out what's going on, and I found an article on pride.com that says Bretman Rock is opening up about gender identity and pronouns, and on a recent episode of the Zach Sang show, it's too late for me to read all these very identical words. Zach Sang show, Sang asked for clarity as to whether the influencer identifies as non-binary, which Rock confirms that he does, and then I panicked. I was like, oh god, I've been saying he the whole video. I'm gonna have to refilm. But Bretman says, I go by all the pronouns. I don't go strictly by they, them. I go by all of them because I also am non-binary, not because of like this one thing that I'm not for clout about. And so apparently he feels both masculine and feminine, so he doesn't mind kind of they, them, he. So that's kind of what I'm gathering from this. To Sang, he elaborated on that a bit further, explaining that in his language, we don't really have a he or a she. So I feel like in a way I've always been non-binary, even down to when I was a kid, my grandma would always introduce me to all her friends and call me like, this is my handsome and beautiful grandson, they said. So she would always like associate me with both feminine and masculine words. So I feel like I've always been non-binary, to be honest. But allegedly it's not just they, them. So I'm just here to clarify that because I thought I messed up for a minute. Anyway, that's that. Let's get into the video. Hey guys, I'm somehow powering through 2 videos in one evening, even though I shouldn't be filming at 10 p.m, but it's my second video for the night and then I'm going to bed. I wanted to talk about a really weird topic today. I haven't seen many YouTubers talk about it on YouTube. Where else would they talk about it? But I've seen this on my For You page and people have been complaining and I just wanted to talk about it, I guess. Bretman Rock hasn't been problematic as such in the last few years, I'd say. There have been like bits and bobs, I think, that people have had an issue with, but as a whole, not very problematic. But recently, Bretman went on Fannita's podcast and told a story time about his mum. And I felt the same feelings as that Get Ready With Me about the girl whose friend got beaten up. It's like some things you should keep to yourself because not every story is just about you. Sometimes your stories are about other people and they haven't consented to have you get views and money off of telling their story that is super traumatic to them. And even though it could have also been traumatic to you, I think there's a line where like not everything is content and some things can be kept private for the sake of yourself, your family members, your friends, and other people. So I just wanted to talk about that. So I think the initial clip that I saw was this one, where he describes how his mum poured hot oil on his dad's mistress.
Have you ever brought Martina up to your mom since the time she beat the shit out of her?
Oh yeah, Martina, by the way, is my dad's mistress.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was just the name that I gave her on the book. So what had happened was my mom called one day and she was like, oh, how's the maid? And I was like, oh, she's cute. Like the mom and dad is always kissing.
Was the maid like just like a cover up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom, my brother and my sister were all in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad and I was in the Philippines because
Okay.
he was like, you got to leave the middle child behind just in case you cheat on me.
Yeah.
And he hired this maid who he told my mom was a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
She was not a lesbian.
Yeah.
And one day my mom called and she was like, how's the maid? And I was like, she's lovely. Dad's always kissing her and they sleep together. Like they're actually massaging each other right now. And I was like 7 at the time.
Y'all
I
know
don't know
your
what
dad
the
was
fuck
like, yo,
saying.
snitching ass.
I didn't know I was snitching, but I'm
Yeah.
glad I did.
Yeah, of course.
A week later, my mom shows up. I'm eating oatmeal. Martina's cooking fish. I'm eating oatmeal at the table. She comes in. She grabs the pan, dumps it on her, boiling oil, dumps it on her, and it's all over her like here, and her hands are like boiling. Like literally, she's like,
And that's what
Yeah.
she f***ing get.
and the floor is oily, right? And my mom knocks her out, grabs her by the hair, and drags her right out of the house. And she was not done yet. And nobody stopped my mom because everyone like literally looked like they saw a ghost.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
She didn't tell anybody who she was coming in.
She popped
She pulled up. She pulled up
Tyler
on a
Perry
beach.
scene.
And she dragged her about like 200 meters out in the neighbor, like literally, and all the neighbors saw this whole thing happen. So if people ever thought I was making shit up in the book, ask my neighborhood, bitch. We all saw that whole thing happen. Like,
And your mom beat her down in front of the community.
yeah. And our roads back home is like filled with like manure, like shit, like glass. And she stood up, like she literally looked like a new person. like it was like,
Your mom gave her a facial reconstruction.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys know the damage that hot oil burns do. Like, that woman is potentially, this is a true story, which allegedly it is, and it's been in his book as well. This is a true story. This woman is disfigured for the rest of her life, and she could have died. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is actually traumatic for everyone. And also, why did she get hit with the oil? Not that anyone should have been hit with the oil, but why the mistress who was actually employed by you guys? There was a power dynamic there of, clearly this woman needed money and was put in a situation where she maybe didn't make the best decision in her life, But does she deserve to be disfigured for the rest of her life? No. And why is this a quirky, funny story? That's what I'm like. This is not like. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is not a story for clout. This is not a story you tell. This is not content. This is traumatic. This is disgusting. And like, his mum has been a part of his content for a while, and now I can't look at that the same. Where I'm like, oh, this is like psychotic. This is not correct. This is wrong. And someone actually responded to that video in a comment saying, if you think Bretman's mum was right in the situation, you are insane. That's disgusting. She needs to serve jail time. I completely agree. This is not content. This is jail time. Can't believe Fannita in the comments are praising that behavior. That's because like Fannita in the clip was like, oh yeah, slay for your mom. Slay sister. That's actually disgusting behavior. Someone said that's really shocking and not okay. That's actually so sad and scary. Fannita, it's honestly disgusting that you're condoning this type of violence against women. Disappointed but not surprised. Once again, it's like the man used his power dynamic, allegedly, maybe, to hook up with someone that worked for him, who probably wasn't getting paid a lot, and instead of him being punished, which I don't even think he should have been punished, just either leave or stay. Like, that's the tea. Don't get into a physical altercation with someone just because they cheated on you. But instead, the mistress, who was in a disadvantaged position, got punished so heavily as well. It wasn't just like, oh, they got into like a bit of a fight, they pulled a bit of hair, you know? Like, she had scalding oil spill on her. Someone said, jail? Oh, that's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. And then someone said, why do people assume that Bretman's mum only beat the mistress and not the dad? Go by his book. And Fannita liked that comment. Like, you can see where it's liked by the author. And I wouldn't want his dad to be beat up either. Like, I said, I don't understand why the mistress was punished only if that was the case, but I also don't think this should have happened to anyone. This is jail time, regardless. Like, this is jail. She could have done that to your dad, not Miss Martina. And what did she do to the dad? Attempted murder? The problem is the husband, not the maid. Father Fannita is saying, as she should, is outrageous to me. Once again, I don't even think the dad should have received that. People do crazy things in their life, and I think as a whole, out of this, cheating is like the least of everyone's concerns. Throwing boiling oil on people. That's the concern. And maybe that's why his mom got cheated on. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't want to be rude, but that kind of behavior doesn't start just in that situation. No one goes their whole life being a ray of sunshine to then throw oil on someone. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be showing red flags and signs before that day, and maybe there is a reason why your husband didn't want to be with you. No offense. Not that I condone cheating, but surely there's nuance to the situation. Now, someone did respond to that. The name is Chica MSO, Chica So. I'm not really sure how that's split up. Sometimes with TikTok names, you're like, how do I split this up? Because everything is just like in one. Anyway, but she explains why the story is so horrid to her, and I completely agree.
She grabs the pan, dumps it on her, boiling oil.
I hate this story. Now bear with, I've got a scrolly notes page full of notes, so there's going to be a lot of cuts because I need to get everything in. First of all, that's Bretman telling the story of what his mum did when she found out, her maid was sleeping with her husband. Her maid. Young girl, maid. Okay. If you're a fan, you'll be familiar with the story because he tells it a lot, mostly talking about how he feels responsible for what happened. Not necessarily that bit. He doesn't seem to care about that bit that much, which is my main issue. He feels responsible for the breakup of the family because his mum found out because he told her. He was like 7, so obviously it's not his fault at all, but he can't help thinking that if he hadn't said anything, his family would still be together. Now, obviously the maid is a homewrecker, I guess, but the way he tells the story, the way Fannita's like, haha, yeah, the way the people in the comments are saying, your mum stood on business, it genuinely makes me feel sick. Like, I was watching it last night and bile was rising. It was rising. Before I forget, let me say that his mum did beat his dad too, but I think you can guess whether or not it involved boiling oil and her dragging the maid through the streets covered in animal poo, manure, whatever, and broken glass. That's what she deserved for listening to a man's lies. Okay. The kicker is, I did more research after I watched that, obviously, and I found out that his mum hired a hitman for his dad, and I thought, damn, yeah, it's still bad what she did to the maid, but at least it's even. She hired the hitman so he would appear in court, and at court, she said, me or her. So after permanently disfiguring, because Fannita asks what the maid looks like now or something, and Bretman says, yeah, I saw her at the funeral for his dad, he passed away. He said, I saw her at the funeral, she's still ugly, her face is effed up. Your mum permanently disfigured a poor woman because her husband, who vowed to... I just don't understand. I mean, I get that women should be moral and not do that, not be homewreckers. I mean, we're all angry at Ariana Grande right now. But the person who betrayed you is your husband. How many times have we heard stories of female celebrities getting cheated on by their mates? Do they go around beating up the maids? Maybe they would if they would get away with it. But they just know the situation. You know, if you see Brad Pitt coming onto you, you're going to go for it, especially if you're poor. I don't know about Philippines, maybe maids are royalty there. Where I come from, maids are literally at the bottom of society. So obviously a man who's got a family in America, I know they weren't doing well financially, but your family is in America, that social status, what the hell? The maid would have never seen anything like that in her life. So obviously she got drawn into that. And they stayed together till he died, so they fell in love, which is unfortunate for his mum, but that doesn't mean you can go around attempting a murder. It's attempted murder. Boiling oil. Are you joking? And everyone tells it like it's such a funny story. It's not funny at all. It's sick. And as much as I hate that Bretman blames himself for the breakdown of his parents' marriage, the way he tells this story, it almost seems like, oh great, there's someone else to blame. Let's all pile it on her. Because at the end of the day, she didn't abuse you. I'm sure he would have mentioned that in his book. And she's the mother of your siblings. And your mum almost killed her. A poor person who fell in love with a richer person. If she was her best friend, I'd hear it more. It's still strange to pour boiling oil.
Someone said, I don't think people realize what boiling oil actually is. And they said, let's hope so. The comments are insane, as if pouring hot oil is okay in any context, plus beating her. My God. And that's not even, like, the oil is what I'm hyper-focusing on, but she was then humiliated in front of the whole, like, town that they lived in and dragged through, like, he said shards of glass and shit. Like, this is actually psychotic behavior. This is not, like, and I don't use that lightly. I'm not saying psychotic as, like, a quirky, cute thing. Like, this is the kind of behavior that someone who is psychotic displays. This is psychotic behavior. If we heard this in a true crime case, people were like, yeah, jail. But because we're hearing it from your favorite influencer on TikTok, suddenly the story is okay, quirky and cute. I don't think this is quirky and cute at all, and this should not be made into content. The fact that this happened wasn't obviously Bretman's fault, right? This happening is something that happened also to him. Like, that was traumatic to Bretman and the rest of the children. But now as an adult, telling the story is a choice that he's making, and it's a disgusting choice at that. Someone said, thank you, it's not a yes queen moment, like, girl, that's assault, a crime. Someone said, yeah, I scrolled, because a fist fight I'd get, but boiling oil, that's like acid. It's literally like an acid attack, which is disgusting. And it's so dodgy when it's an employer. Like, would the maid have been out of a job if she didn't do as he said? Like, the power imbalance is off, and that's what I'm trying to get at as well, without, you know, saying it. Someone said, not even to talk about the power dynamic of an employee and their employer. I was like, what? How is everything okay with this? No, please, there is absolutely no valid reason to do that to someone, and I completely agree. On a different post where they posted part 1, and so I showed you guys part 1, and someone else posted part 2 in a separate account, separate clip, separate vibe, okay? And this is part 2 of where Martina is now and who did the dad end up picking. Spoiler alert, he picked Martina, the woman who had the oil thrown on her, because she was actually pregnant. So to add to this traumatic story, this woman was potentially pregnant while she had oil thrown on her and was dragged through shards of glass.
Filled with like manure, like shit, like glass. And she stood up, like she literally looked like a new person. like it was like...
Your mom gave her a facial reconstruction.
Yeah. And she had a whole bundle on her hand, like just, and she was scalped. Because her hair was raw, like her skin was raw. Yeah, and guess who my dad chose? Oh, and my dad wouldn't show up in court. So my mom hired a hitman, bitch. Cocked him in the back of his head, woke up in court. Who do you want? Me or her? Me or her? Me or her?
And he picked Martina?
Yeah.
Your dad. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think he did because she was pregnant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she got pregnant and you have two
So, but
halfies.
don't you have like 2 or 3 other siblings?
I have an older brother and a younger sister with my mom, and then 2 halfies with him. With
so
my
what
dad.
did her being pregnant got to do with the price of tea in China? What the does that matter? You
Bitch,
already got kids.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think maybe some gorilla grip pussy. I don't know, bitch.
The pussy always changes on,
It's
bro.
a pussy.
Do you think her face is still fucked up?
I saw her at my dad's funeral actually, and she's ugly. So I mean, it stayed up, I guess.
This is traumatic, and this is trauma for that woman. But then the comments under this post, however, are very different. Someone said, your mum is my vibe. She's wild. I love her. Someone needs to watch out for this woman. Like, we need to figure out what this woman is doing right now and who she's with. We need to warn them. People are posting laughing faces, not me gasping, shocked faces, laughing faces. This is a great storytelling. I have the TikTok about be opinionated again. I want to throw it in there for you guys because I agree.
I want to be opinionated again. I feel like I doled myself down because I wanted everyone to like me. This is the year I become an absolute menace to society. As long as you're not being problematic, people are allowed to have different opinions than you. There is something that many people like and you don't, you're like canceled for it. In a video, I said that Selena Gomez's singing career, like I wish this would go away or something like that. And everybody's like, that was so mean. Maybe it was fucking mean, but it's how I feel. Homegirl can't sing. Why are we pretending like she can?
And that is basically the tea. Like, I want to know what you guys think, because I was disgusted hearing this whole thing, and I was just like shocked by the fact that people thought this was a funny, quirky story to tell, when in reality this is someone's trauma for the rest of their life, if true. So anyway, let me guys think. Subscribe, hit that bell icon for engagement, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Hopefully less traumatizing. Bye guys.